So this is my first attempt at a video connect to God. Since we can't all be in this church building together to pray and to worship, just to be in community and support one another, I thought I would bring you into the building with me so that you could see what Reverend Chris and I get to look at every Sunday as we live stream worship. This is St. John's resurrection window. You can tell that this is the resurrected Christ because if you look closely at his feet, I don't know if you can see that, you can see that his feet and his hands are pierced. And I think this is a resurrection scene from the book of Matthew because of the disciples that are depicted there. I think one of these is Peter. There's John, the beloved disciple, there in the mustard color. He's always depicted as very sort of prayerful and ascetic, kind of feminine looking. You can see the other disciples here. Some of them are scared, some of them are prayerful. I love, if you look really closely in the background, you can see a sort of Middle Eastern city. And then all of the trees in the background are very Mediterranean and not coincidentally also very Californian, which I think is kind of cool. It brings the resurrection into our time and place. And I really, really like the fact that this is what I get to look at every Sunday because in this scene from the book of Matthew, what Jesus is saying as his arms are raised is a word of sending and reassurance to his disciples after he tells them that even though he's been resurrected, he won't always physically be with them, that he's ascending to be with God so that he's no longer bound to one place and time, but he'll be with them everywhere. So he's sending them out into the world to love and to serve others and reassuring them that wherever they go, he's with them, that his presence isn't limited just to one time and one place anymore. And the last words of the book of Matthew are beautiful. Jesus says, "Truly, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." That's what I picture him saying. And I've sort of seen this as a kind of comfort during this time when we can't be in the building, a reminder that God's presence, that Jesus's presence is with us to the end of the age, even if we can't be in this building. If you're interested in the history of stained glass, because who isn't, you can tell that this is from the 20s or the 30s for a couple of reasons. First, you can see the sort of pre-Raphaelite influence in the disciples' clothing. You can tell that stained glass is influenced by the sort of early 20th century pre-Raphaelite movement when all the disciples look like medieval fairy princesses, even when they have beards. So that's where the tradition that you get that really beautiful brocade, the long, sort of elongated, thin figures is sort of a way of indicating spirituality and prayerfulness. But you can tell it's a little bit later that it's not the early 20th century because when you look up at the sky, that variegated color is a result of the influence of Tiffany. So those Tiffany windows that you've seen and heard about, the Tiffany glass that you've seen, that's actually made by layering different colors of glass on top of each other. That's how you get that effect that you see in the sky, and that didn't come around until the teens and the 20s. So you sort of see it, it's an interesting kind of transition between eras in stained glass, if that kind of thing interests you. And there's also a wider, as you get into the teens and 20s, you start seeing glass that has purples and pinks and the kinds of colors that they didn't know how to make until the 20th century. So this is actually a really, really interesting period in making stained glass. It's also when they start being able to do the kind of detail that you see in Jerusalem behind Jesus. It's really, really delicate. And really special, the detail that you see in the trees. I like to think that the maker of the stained glass knew that this would be in California because we've got these great Californian trees and Californian landscape, that if Jerusalem weren't there, you could kind of picture that being Mount Tam, and you can picture this being a reminder that Jesus is truly with us even to the end of the age.